Real quick, before we continue with the episode, I want to let you know that if you're a creative person who wants to share your creative gift or whatever you're passionate about with other people and create an online community, a podcast is an amazing way to do it. And you can start a podcast today with Anchor by Spotify. It's such an easy way to make a podcast. Trust me. I'm not a tech person and I did it. So if I can do it, honey, you can too, okay? Anchor has tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. And you can host on Anchor and it will distribute your podcast to platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. So you don't have to worry about, uploading your podcast to all these different sites. And it's everything that you need to make a podcast in one place. And it's 100% free. So there you go. Let's go. Start your podcast, create your online community, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, without further ado, let's continue. Welcome to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. I'm your host, Estella Berry, and I'm so glad that you're here. This show is all about being creative and pursuing your creative passions while you're in medical school or a professional program or grad program of any kind. Okay, you are welcome here. So let's start creating and let's get into this episode. Hello. Welcome back to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen every week or any week or whenever you're listening. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you being here. And I know that if you are a busy student like me, a busy medical student like me, or any student, you're probably listening to this while you're doing something else or while you're maybe commuting or you just have like a short amount of time to listen. So I'm going to keep this brief, but to the point and hopefully also inspiring and encouraging because what I'm talking about today is actually just like a genuine, like straight up overview of my experience balancing my creative pursuits, my creativity with school this week in medical school. In this week of medical school, how did I balance being creative? How did I balance my creative passions and interests with medical school? So that's basically what I'm going to be talking about. So let's get into the episode. All right, so to give you some context, so a couple weeks ago, it was my last week of break before classes were going to start again, and I asked people on Instagram. I did like an Instagram question for people to send in song recommendations. So I asked people for any song recommendations they might have because I was like, I have like a few more days before classes start. I can go ahead and just start doing some recordings and just have fun with it. And so I got a few recommendations. I was like, okay, cool. This is a great place to start. Lots of good options there. And I just like was like, okay, cool. So I just started and like pulled up like three or four of the songs, like the lyrics. And my family had brought my ukulele for me actually from home when they came to visit. So I had my ukulele too. And so I also pulled up like ukulele tabs just in case I wanted to like learn some chords and try to accompany myself. Um, that did not work. So it was a struggle to record. I recorded a couple like covers or like half covers, I don't even know. But it just was not working because I was trying to like play the ukulele on some of the songs, but I had literally just got my nails done and they were lengthier than I'm used to, so it was hard. Like strumming was challenging for me. And then I wasn't fully warmed up when I was trying to sing. It was just not working. So I kind of was like, okay, I'll worry about this later. Like I'll try again later. But then the next week classes begun. So that was like a busy week for me. But by the end of that week, my sister actually called me asking me to send in a worship song cover because our church was having a young adults weekend and it was fabulous, by the way. It was a great weekend at Restoration, RCCG Restoration Burlington. It was awesome, powerful weekend. But that Friday, they were having like a worship night, and she wanted me to send something in, because they had like a talent portion where like anyone could just share whatever talent they wanted to worship God. And so I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, sure, I'll send it in once I get home, because I was at school, I was studying. So I was like, I'm planning to get home by around like 5 or so I'll send it in then. I was like, no big deal, I can send it, I can record it by like quickly and send it in by like 6. No big deal. Or like 6:30, I think they needed it by. I think by the time I finally got home, got settled, I didn't even warm up because I was rushing so much. I was like, I have to do this. I was like trying to pull everything up. I gotten dressed, made sure I was presentable. And after like a day of studying, I was like, okay, I need to get dressed. And then I like pulled all the lyrics up that I needed. And at first I was trying to play with the ukulele. And that was not working because again, I was so not used to strumming with my like long nails that look cute. Don't get me wrong, but they don't agree with trying to play ukulele. So, especially because I was rushing, like I was like nervous and like I was like, okay, I can't do this. So I pulled up the instrumental and I just had to just do it. I was like, at this point, I need to send this in ASAP. I think I tried recording a couple times and it like wasn't sounding good. And then I was like, you know what? I just need to get this to God and I need to just do this genuinely and just worship and just do it as quickly as possible and send it in. So just like that, I had to do it imperfectly in a sense. I had to just do it, not overthinking everything, but just sing because I was worshiping God, I was praising God, and because I love to do it. And so that as that worked, the spirit flowed and praise God. It ended up sounding okay. There was a whole other situation with trying to send it that took forever. The devil was trying to work, but you know what? At the end, they got the video by God's grace and it played well and it sounded great. And all glory to God. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. So I was like, praise God. But the point of that story is to tell you that I literally, because of like the time crunch, I had to release the song. Like I had to do the song, release the song, as if it's my album, as if I had to release it, or else, or else my label would, fight me. No, that's it's not that serious, but you know what I mean. Like I had to actually do it because I'd made a commitment. So because of that, I had to kind of let go of my insecurities. I had to let go of any fears, and I was just like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm just gonna sing from my heart. And you know, when you've worked on something for so long, when you've like practiced so many times, when you've done the creative um gift that you have, when you use the creative gift that you have so many times, like it's like all that work kicks in when you're just like letting yourself be free and not overthinking it. And so it wasn't perfect, I don't love it all that much as like in general, but I think it ended up being a good recording because it was from my heart and it wasn't like overthinking, and it was worshipful and people were able to worship to it, which is the most important thing. So yeah, all that to say, I have to do it imperfectly. And sometimes, especially as students, like you don't have all the time in the world. So if you want to be creative, if you want to use your gift, you're gonna have to kind of put aside your need for perfection and all things every single second, every single aspect of it. You're gonna have to kind of put that aside a little bit, because in order to do your creative gift, in order to be creative, in order to practice your art, your craft, your whatever the creative outlet is, you're going to have to kind of take a step back and be okay with maybe it being imperfect. And to add to that, this past week, I I remembered, I knew that I still had like all these songs that people had recommended, or like that they had suggested that they wanted me to do a cover of. So I was like, okay, if I can do, if I was able to put together and submit that cover in, I think I did it in like under 30 minutes, you know, because of like the time crunch, I was like, you know what, if I was able to do that and it turned out okay because I was doing it from a place of genuine love for it and genuine love for God, then I can do one of these covers and it won't take up too much time, as long as I'm able to be okay with maybe, making mistakes and then learning from there and going from there. And so I decided I was like, I'm going to record at least one of the songs and I'm just going to do it messy. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make the time at the end of the day. I did it on a Friday. So I finished up my studying on that Friday night. And I think I finished up by like 9:30 or so. I usually don't like studying past like 10:30 if I can help it because my brain gets so tired because I like to start in the morning. So that's just me. Everyone's different. So I think I finished up by like 9:30 or so, 9:45 maybe. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I started to do like a little warm up and I moved to another room in my house because I didn't want to bother my roommate. And I pulled up the instrumental and I was just like, okay, let's go. I literally put my phone like on the ring light stand, my desk ring light stand, and just like press record. And I hadn't even practiced before. I was just like, I'm just gonna sing and I'm just gonna follow along. And that wasn't the one that I ended up like using and posting on my Instagram, but it was still pretty decent because I was just like not super worried about, I wasn't super worried about how it was going to sound because I knew it was like a kind of like a practice run. But I was like, in case it ends up sounding really good for some reason, then we'll use it. But I did several more takes, like only a couple like full takes. The other takes were like partial and I would mess up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, have to delete that. So all that to say was that I was able to then complete the song and it turned out well and I was able to post it and it was a great moment for me personally because the song was Reckless Love by Corey Asbury. Asbury? Asbury? I think that's how you Asbury? I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, so that song obviously is, if you know it, it's very beautiful. It's very touching. It's very powerful. And so it was just like for me, it was a beautiful time for me to worship God one on one, and then also share that with anyone else who needed that encouragement, needed that song for that time. And so I got to benefit from it, and I was able to like just do it imperfectly and be okay with it. Um, maybe not having like all the time in the world to like nitpick everything and like do it this way, try it this way, sometimes you just don't have the time. Actually, you just don't have that time when you're in medical school. So you have to make the most of the time that you do have. And I'm just grateful that I was able to do that in that moment. And I think having to do it the week before for the event, like reminded me that I can put out something that sounds good and that is an expression of my creative gifts without having to nitpick and overthink everything and having to take up all my time. Instead, I can, continue to grow over time and continue to get better because I want to do everything with excellence. And I can do it with excellence with the best of my ability by the grace of God. And I can accept also the fact that it might not be perfect, quote unquote, the way that I think it should be. But it can still be impactful, it can still be beautiful, and it can still be an expression of my creativity. And that's the whole point. And so I just want to encourage you that whatever your creative gift is, whatever your creative outlet is, you know, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace and make that time that you can for it. And in that time that you can, instead of nitpicking and overthinking, let yourself just enjoy that moment, enjoy that time where you're able to be creative because it is a gift. Enjoy the time where you're able to be creative and just be present in that time instead of overthinking it. And as you do that, I think you're really going to enjoy it more. Like it'll be more fun for you and you're going to be surprised. Like it'll turn out well and you can still be excellent in what you're doing without having to overthink every aspect of it. You can still be excellent in what you're doing because you will grow over time. But you won't be excellent if you're forcing yourself to be perfect from day one. So that's my reminder for you. And that's just me reflecting on my experience as I've tried balancing singing as my creative outlet with medical school. I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that helped you. I hope that encourages you as you go through this week, as you go through whatever season in your life that you are in as a student. I hope that you remember that you can and should continue to be creative and to express yourself creatively, and know that even if you're not able to do it in all the time in the world, because you don't have all the time in the world at all, and that's okay. You can use the time that you have and you can be present in that moment. You can enjoy it and you can make the most of it and you can love it and you can be free in that moment and not overthink it. And as you do that, I think you're going to enjoy it more. So I hope that helps. If that did help, please share this with another friend who you know has a creative gift, another creative outlet, or another friend or a friend who has a friend who has a creative gift or a creative outlet or who wants to be more creative. Send it to one of your friends who's a student as well to encourage them. And let me know what you thought of the episode. Let me know any questions you have, any topics you want to explore. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram at Estelle F. Berry. You can send me a DM, send me a message through my website at creativelybyestelle.com. Let me know more information. All the information is in the show notes. And let me know what you think. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode. Real quick before you go, there is a Facebook page that I made called the Creatively Community, and I'd love for you to search that on Facebook and go ahead and like it because I'm going to continue to post some content there, and we're going to make that into a group so we can keep building community, okay? So thanks so much again, and I'll see you next week.